I think he's a very disloyal person because he was dead. He was looking for jobs, and I endorsed him, and he went up many points. He was 30 points down, at least, maybe more than that. He was dead. So I think he's very disloyal, but I don't care. Look, a poll just came out in Iowa. You saw the one that just came out a couple of minutes ago. I'm leading by 30 or 40 points. I don't mind that at all. But no, I think he's very disloyal, but he's got no personality. If you don't have personality, politics is a very hard business.
Welcome to the Crypto Teacher. And you know I come back with that video just to make you think.
Don't forget to like and subscribe to the channel.
And guys, we have Trump stepping up the Hegelian dialectic. Desantis is disloyal. He would have lost without me. But one thing, he was right. If you don't have personality, you're going to lose. Guys, we know it's all acting. And remember, the Crypto Teacher told you.
Showing about $38 million in crypto received by sellers of fentanyl. Walk me through the methodology of the research to start. And then I also want to hear from you about what makes crypto an attractive payment method for those sellers. The fact that you were able to track this through blockchain research is, like you sort of said earlier in this interview, a testament to the transparency of the technology. How is law enforcement responding or acting on this data, and how can the data help?
Sure. I mean, I can't comment too specifically on what individual law enforcement agencies are doing with these sorts of data, but at a general level, the transparency, as you said, gives a lot more information for interventions. So you're able in real time to see flows is one key advantage. And so, for example, in the context of our work on these fentanyl precursor shops, though that real-time information can let you build out predictive algorithms to determine when you might be seeing surges in border interdictions at the U.S.-Mexico border, for example. You also have the permanence of the blockchain, which I think is a huge advantage for law enforcement. So even if you're not able to leverage the real-time element to do an intervention, you are able to act historically because the record will never change.
And guys, you heard that right. The opioid crisis being fueled by crypto. Guys, we know nobody's going to be buying any drugs on blockchain. And we have the fentanyl coming from China. And who's the only person that can ship fentanyl from China? That's right, guys. We know the NWO. We know the banks are the biggest what? I'm going to let you finish that. But we know in order to move the NWO's agenda, they have to play the Hegelian dialectic. They tell you that crypto is bad, while behind the curtain, they're using it all along. They tell you don't invest when they're investing. That's how they keep the sheep indecisive. And remember, the Crypto Teacher told you.
Well, they're working it behind the scenes, Becky, after President Biden and House Speaker Kevin McCarthy brokered that 2-year deal to raise the debt ceiling in exchange for lower spending levels. They are now racing to sell their respective parties before that June 5th default deadline. The agreement, for those who are not aware, would see flat spending next year and cap growth at 1% in 2025. Military spending would rise 3% this year. $21 billion would be reallocated from the IRS to elsewhere. And food stamp or SNAP recipients would need to work until age 54. Those are all step downs from original Republican proposals, which President Biden said represented a compromise.
The agreement also represents a compromise, which means no one got everything they want. But that's the responsibility of governing.
But now comes the hard part, getting lawmakers on board. With each party's base up in arms, Republicans have committed 50 votes, and Democrats need to deliver about 70. Some progressives have said they'll vote for it grudgingly. Others say Democrats have an earful for the White House.
I expect to have to hold the phone out here based on what we're going to hear from some of our progressive members. So it is far from over the finish line yet. And, of course, if it doesn't go over the finish line, then I think we're going to see the kind of market reaction that none of us want to see.
The bill today must overcome some GOP opposition on the powerful House Rules Committee before it can see a vote tomorrow. Some in the Senate have vowed to hold up that process there, as you mentioned, Becky, and that was all before the contents were made public. It remains to be seen how quickly it can move now, but certainly the principals are working their conferences to try to shore up those votes to make sure that it can move swiftly through each chamber.
And guys, we have the debt ceiling drama coming to an end. Looks like it get past the House, but work retired for food stamps up to age 54. $21 billion cut from the IRS, and guys, we know blockchain is going to replace that. Military spending increasing because we know of the technology, and no spending next year, and then a 1% increase in 2025. And guys, we know why. We know the de-dollarization around the globe. America will no longer have the world reserve currency. Everything is going to be tokenized and put on blockchain, but the fact is that we're going to be going through hyper deflation. The Fed is going to keep rates higher for longer in order to destroy this fragmented globe. And then we know the fourth industrial revolution is going to rise, where the robots, algorithms, and drones take the economy over, the global economy, and the sheep go inside the metaverse. Get that free money airdrop to them. Little do they know it's programmable. Tell them what, where, and when and how to buy, and they have 3 to 6 months to spend it, or poof, it's gone. And those who saw my video yesterday in the Patreon know that then when they go inside the metaverse, they'll be downloaded. And once you get downloaded, what can happen? You'll get deleted. And remember, the Cryptoteacher told you, because he knows when it comes to the New World Order, it's all planned out. You have a wonderful day.
Yeah, Becky, this hope for pause looks to be, I'd say, in peril, because things that were going to be negative, these negative developments, they might have stayed the Fed's hands from hiking rates, but they're declining in probability. That is, they're looking better. A debt default would have stayed the Fed's hands probably, but the ceiling now looks like it to be lifted. JP Morgan estimating the debt ceiling would be on the low side of estimates in terms of its negative GDP impact, shaving 0.2 off of GDP next year, much less than the 0.7 subtraction that accompanied the 2011 deal, and less than JP Morgan had estimated. Okay, another area, the banking turmoil might have also stayed the Fed's twitchy rate hiking hand, but the latest Fed data shows domestic banks' loans and deposits up a bit in the past week. Deposits are still down from before Silicon Valley Bank failed, but loans are up a bit, and it doesn't appear to be a massive credit pullback that will hobble the economy and stop the Fed from hiking. That combines with Friday's still high inflation data, lots of hawkish Fed rhetoric to put a rate hike back on the table for the June meeting, and you can see that in the Fed funds futures market. If you look ahead, what it shows is that the future's trading a 60% probability of a rate hike, and it's mostly priced in through July. That year-end rate, remember that gap was like 100 basis points, now just 16 basis points below the Fed officials' own medium forecast. We got the jobs number this Friday. It's going to play a role in shaping these expectations. Wall Street looking a bit slower, but still strong, 188,000 jobs. Unemployment rate ticking up just a tick to 3.5%. After that, there's only one inflation report standing in the way of the Fed and that June hike. So, Becky, that's the call. They could pause and come back and hike in July, but what I'm hearing from Fed officials, Powell's the most neutral, but the other folks seem to be pretty hawkish to me. So, in other words, good news is still bad news because it means that they're going to have to keep hiking rates. Well, you know, it's interesting. I was thinking about this. If I had to make a trade, if you told me I could have the debt ceiling solved, not have a banking crisis, and have still strong job growth, and I had to trade that for another quarter point, I'd probably do it. Clearing this hurdle have any impact on mortgage rates, which are now back over 7%? And Diana Olick joins us now with more to try to connect the dots between these two events. Diana. Well, Joe, it's all about treasuries. I mean, given that rally expected today, they'll likely come down a bit. But look, mortgage rates have been on a tear higher. Some of it because of concern over the debt ceiling, of course, but a lot of it because of recent indicators showing the economy isn't cooling off as much as the Fed might like. Take a look. The average rate on the 30-year fix started at the last low of 6.49% on May 11th, and in the course of 2 weeks, shot up 65 basis points to 7.14% as of Friday. It was the first time rates crossed 7% since early March, and even in March, rates were only that high very, very briefly. So in real money, that means if you were taking out a $400,000 mortgage to buy a house,
your monthly payment rose by almost $175 in just 2 weeks. All right, so what next? Well, Matthew Graham, COO of Mortgage News Daily, pointed out a debt ceiling deal would now allow the U.S. government to issue more Treasury bonds, which it couldn't have done if it had defaulted. And more Treasury issuance generally equals higher rates. All of this happening when economic indicators, again, still show the economy is stronger than the Fed wants it to be. So bottom line, rates have risen for other economic reasons, not just the debt ceiling, and they could go even higher if those reasons show little sign of reversing. And of course, we're all looking to the all-important jobs report on Friday.
Going to a different economy, and we're going to be learning more about that as we go, but clearly we're learning that things can be done from remote locations. We're learning that technology can replace people even more than we thought.
We're not going back to the same economy. We're recovering, but to a different economy, and it'll be one that is more leveraged to technology. And I worry that that is going to make it even more difficult than it was for many workers.
In Silicon Valley, and my friends who work in technology know that what we did to the manufacturing workers, we are now going to do to the retail workers, the call center workers, the fast food workers, the truck drivers, and then even bookkeepers, accountants, insurance agents, lawyers, and on through the economy. So what happened to the manufacturing workers is a very clear sign.
And so we'll import Chinese-based CBDC technology. So it's going to be CBDC in a box provided to you by the People's Bank of China.
Cryptoteacher and the new World Order book, plus the 3 kids books. It's time to re-educate. Also, new to cryptos, Coinbase, Bitrue, Binance. Do not forget book links and crypto links are in the description. The stock channel, guys. Don't forget to go like, subscribe, spread everywhere. You have your Kobo, your chip stocks, your banking, your gaming. While everybody's sitting at home, get home stocks, the Seaver, the biotech stocks. And while everybody's at home wishing they were still getting that free money, what are they doing? Drinking and smoking weed. Don't forget about those stocks, and you have a wonderful day. The most powerful person in the world is the storyteller. The storyteller sets the vision, values, and agenda of an entire generation to come. Steve Jobs. And guys, you know I truly believe in this. When you look at the New World Order, they're the storytellers. And that's the reason why I wrote my New World Order book. But guys, now it's time to change the current generation. And I wrote 3 kids books. You know I love the Trinity because I understand the power that's in it. So I have 3 books. We have an opportunity to change the generation, to educate. Not just me, but I want to show you that I take action on a daily basis. And I want you to take action on a daily basis. Whether it's your job, whether it's in your community, we have an opportunity right now to educate the masses. I posted this on my Twitter account. Please share, but this is a short clip of the 3 books. There's going to be a clothing line and action figures. Please get these books for your kids, nephews, cousins, friends, so therefore we can start the re-education now. Because as we see, the 4th Industrial Revolution foundation is definitely here. Robots, algorithms, drones, taking humanity out the picture. We have to re-educate. But let's get into the video.
Part 1. King Joshua and Grandma Tam save the village. Part 2. King Joshua and Grandma Tam save New York from COVID-33. Part 3. King Joshua and Grandma Tam goes to China.
It's mandatory to get part 1, part 2, and part 3 of this series. It's time to re-educate Generation Z.